I'm Victoria Pearson, but you can call me V. I am off on holiday in a couple of days' time. I've still got a ton of stuff to do. I've got all the packing to do. I've got to clean the house before I go. I've got to sort out some shopping for the teenager that I'm leaving behind, and I've done none of that. And so, of course, today I'm going to hyper-focus on making over this extremely ugly and very, very battered old chair, which is currently having to be employed in my kitchen. It is right where I can see it all day long, and it's really annoying me that it looks like this. We've had it for about 20 years, I think, and it's time to give it a quick refresh. Should I be doing this today? Probably not. Am I just procrastinating? Absolutely. But it will give me a little sense of achievement. Now, I've brought myself upstairs to a little corner outside my daughter's bedroom door because she is not here today. But she is getting home at midnight. It is noon right now, so I need to get this going so that it is dry enough to move before she gets home.
Another good reason for doing it here was that I can just roll the rug back. There's floorboards underneath that have already got paint on from previous tenants and from previous DIY attempts of mine. And I already have this paint from doing my living room and this little tin of paint that I did buy for the skirting boards, but I haven't been able to do the skirting boards for various reasons, so we're just using it today for this chair. And so I just got stuck in really slapping it down. I probably should have looked up how to paint a chair, because as I was slapping it on, I suddenly realised, oh, you know what, it's going to be difficult for me to keep turning this around, but I'm going to need to keep turning this around. And so I kind of decided that I was going to leave the spindles until last. That way I would have something to hold to turn the chair around as I worked on it, and would worry about how to do the spindles later. It was a very tedious process, and this paint was very drippy because it was a gloss, and I found the whole thing quite annoying, but it did come together on the first coat very well, although the first coat itself did look absolutely atrocious, and I started to lose faith in my ability to do the project. Luckily, the second coat later on did look a lot better and a lot smoother, but at this point I was starting to think, oh no, why did I take this on? Why didn't I buy self-leveling chalk paint that is designed for this? Why am I trying to do this with the kind of gloss that is supposed to be for radiators and skirting boards? This was a terrible, terrible idea. But it is looking slightly better already than it was before.
I know I'm going to speed this video up, so I'm just stopping for a second to say this is where we are at 10 minutes in. Coming together quite quick, yeah?
I think if I had looked up how to paint a chair, it probably would have told me to start with these fiddly bits at the back and at the bottom, because it was actually really annoying doing that when I'd already painted the seat. There was just something so satisfying with starting with the seat. I'm sorry for it. At this point, I'm starting to think, how am I going to paint these spindles if I keep using them to turn the chair around? And I kept on thinking, that's future me's problem, until very soon I was future me. But I decided instead to do a few cutesy little decorative things in a little while and worry about that later. I then decided maybe painting one of the spindles might have been a good idea on each side, and so I started with the front and back, and then realised they were going to take an absolute age to dry. When I came back, I painted the green over the white because that's what I wanted to do in the first place, and I still had two completely naked spindles and wasn't really quite sure how to deal with that. And so I thought, well, again, that is future me's problem. I'm going to carry on painting the cutesy little green bits and getting them all in the white paint and just generally really annoying myself with it. But it started to come together. It started to look kind of cute. I started to think, ooh, maybe this is going to look even better than it was when I first started. So I decided to want a decorative bit, did a bit of girl measuring with my forearm there, and then just decided to wing it. I wanted to get a sort of fern, bracken, leafy sort of pattern going on, and I decided to just freehand it. That probably wasn't the best idea, but I actually quite like how it turned out, and I think that freehanding it and making them look slightly different from each other actually made them look quite a bit more natural. As you can see, I have still speeded this up, but not by as much as some of the other parts of the video, so that you can see me doing the details of it and sort of smudging it in. I wanted it to look sort of like it was disappearing a little bit into the white like that, to give it a bit of a more natural and soft and foggy kind of look, because that's just the sort of thing that I like. Is this to everybody's taste? No, but it is to mine. I like it, and so it's for my house, and so it doesn't matter if it's to anybody else's taste. You can paint something on your chairs and nobody can stop you, because you're a full grown-up with a paintbrush and a chair to paint, and so you can do whatever you want to do. And I decided that if I really did hate this, I could just paint over this bit if I decided that I didn't like it, or if anyone else in the family decided that they didn't like it. But so far, everybody has said it's cute, so I've got one more opinion left to get before I decide if the little ferny bits are staying. But I think they're whimsical and sweet, and I like them. At this point, I decided that I was going to do one spindle on each side, and so I gave them a little white base coat to make the green pop a little bit more, and then I went back to the seat and started doing the decorative parts where those had already dried, because I decided I wanted a little fern in each corner for that as well. Then I went back to the white ones and went over the green. I probably was a little bit previous with that, to be honest. It wasn't quite dry yet. I kept smudging it everywhere it was doing my head in. But I decided to do the other white ones and then just move the chair around by sort of pressing my hand underneath the seat to move it around. And that was quite awkward, and I did get a lot of paint all over myself. It was in my hair, it was up my arms, I got some in my ear somehow. But after about an hour and a half and lots of swearing, I've managed to create something while sitting in my pyjamas. And I am really, really pleased with that.
And so this, ta-da, is my finished chair. I'm very, very pleased with how it's come out. I am going to have to touch some bits up later, but because the paint is wet, every time I go to touch something up, it smudges something else and it pulls the paint off. But look, isn't it cute? It is so whimsical and unique. And so I've decided that it doesn't matter if it's a little bit messy on the paintwork, because that just shows that it's hand painted. I am of course now completely covered in paint, so I'm going to take myself off for a hot bath. And a hot bath well earned, I think. I am very, very pleased with how it turned out. The beauty of this project was that it 100% could not have looked any worse, whatever I did to it. And so I'm really, really pleased that now the thing that is in my eye line all the time is going to look a lot less shabby, but also is going to match with the colour scheme of my house. The whole project didn't cost me anything because I happen to already have the paint, but I used about half of this tin. Don't know if you can see that, don't really want to tilt it too much. So I used maybe just over half, but not by much, of this tin of paint to do the white parts, and just a tiny little bit of the green that I already had. I can't really show you how much though, because I'd already started using that paint can. Join me on Monday, 6 AM UK time, for a chat with one of my author friends, I think. Ooh, exciting. I've been promising you this one for a little while. But if you can't wait until Monday to see me again, I will be here every single morning in your shorts, taking a great big deep breath, letting you know what I am grateful for. Sometimes I'm letting you know what's challenging me that day as well. And I will also be here on a Witchy Wednesday doing an intuitive tarot card pull for you as well. Until then though, you have yourself a magical week.